Well, hello.
Hey, Jonathan.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you today? Or
I'm
this evening, I should
good.
say. Tonight. It's dark.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I don't know about people in their homes, but for me, it's 6:30, and I will go. I will go to the tom with that. This is 6:30.
Looks that way. Kind of looks that way. Yeah.
Welcome everyone to another Askable Adults Live, the show where we talk about all about sex ed, community, and today, community transformation through art. What? Before we continue, as usual, we have to say our acknowledgments and recognitions, and that is that Black Lives Matter today and always. And now that we're here, hi.
Hey.
Hi, my
Hey.
name is Jonathan Rodriguez. I use he, him, and él pronouns when speaking Spanish, and I'm the Youth and Health Resource Center Coordinator for Bergstein's Matters. And as always, my partner in crime, although we don't commit crimes, is.
Yes, my name is Nadine, and I am the community liaison for Bergstein's Matter. And I use they and their pronouns.
And like we mentioned, today we're gonna be talking about a very interesting organization that is based in the city of Reading, but they go to many different places, even outside the United States.
Yes, around the world.
I know. To be agents of change, we need to first know ourselves, change ourselves, and then proceed to transform our surroundings. And as we're talking, and as hopefully many of you already know, Barrio Alegria looks to do this transformation through all forms of art. And to talk about how to do this, we have the executive director of Barrio Alegria, Mr. Daniel Egusquiza. Hi.
Hello.
How are
Welcome,
you, Daniel?
What a title, Executive Director of Barrio Alegría.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
How are you, Daniel?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. I'm having a rough time with it being so dark so early, but yeah, we have to get used to it.
We have a couple of months.
Seems a little strange, yes. Yeah. That's why Jonathan says it's 6:30.
It's 6:30. But I hope you're well, Daniel, because we kind of like heard some news.
We did.
Nadine, do you want to
I'm gonna
share the
say,
news?
do I want to share the news?
These are
Daniel loves when the spotlight gets on him this way. So we heard some news that you were recently elected to serve on the board of the Pennsylvania Humanities Council. We want to congratulate you on that. And how does it feel to have a seat at that table? And what does that mean for you?
Yeah, it really was an honor. I think that it's also a great responsibility for me to be able to sit there and talk about writing and about the work that we are doing in our communities. It is great that I think this body of people that are in that board are looking to hear voices from all over the state, not just the big cities like Philadelphia. And it is really humbling that they would ask me, who has very little to contribute. From my perspective, I think I have more to learn from them than to contribute. But I'm going to be learning, and I'm going to be learning very hard and trying to do it very fast, so that I can leave the name of our city in a good spot.
I'm sure you do have a lot to learn from them, but I also think you grossly underestimate what you have to share and teach them. I mean, really, Daniel, I know that you're now a board member of the Pennsylvania Humanities Council. And I know that you have like so many different roles and titles and responsibilities, even here in our community, that it's really hard for us to know where to begin here tonight. But we do want to focus on Barrio. And it seems to me the best place to begin as at the beginnings of Barrio. And from there, we can go wherever this conversation takes us. But everywhere I look these days is barrio this, barrio that, barrios here, barrios there, barrios like everywhere. Um, and we know, and I think a lot of people know now, that it's a really valuable community asset, barrio, and all the people involved with barrio. But can you pick a starting point somewhere and tell us about the story of barrio's beginning?
Yeah, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. I think that barrio is everywhere, but it's not because Daniel is everywhere. It's because the people are everywhere, right? Barrio represents our community, and I think that if I can pick one thing that I can take back to like these macro tables, tying it back to the conversation about the Pennsylvania Humanities Council briefly, is that the one thing that I know is the plethora of stories of transformation stories that are happening every day in our city, in our neighborhoods. So that's that. I think that the beginning of Barrio is, of course, in 2015. We were doing back then. We were doing community presentations after like rehearsing. It was mostly dance. We would rehearse for about 6 months, and then we would do a 3 minute dance presentation. But we did a pilot dance slash community engagement project with Reading Area Community College, and they asked us to bring some of their students on board for this project, and we did. And through that project, we were able to meet um, amazing people. And one of the things that we did was at the end of the project, we had a conversation, kind of like an exit um, meeting, and one of the members of that club of that group said in the middle of the circle, he said, "Yeah, what I would like is for us to continue being friends outside of this project, because I really don't know that I have a lot of friends outside here. I barely go out, so I really want to be able to have friends and to say hi to you on the street, and then hear you say hi back to me." And that really touched, I think, everyone in that room, that we had been able to create a community where this person was able to feel safe to share that, but also to express their expectations for what needed to happen moving forward. And so we thought, man, like this is the beginning. It sounds like this is the beginning of a pilot of a model, a new model, and then we simply just replicated that again and again and again. It's been a copy and paste of that moment, really. That has been the story of Barrio.
So, in
Mm.
why the name Barrio Alegría?
Um, there's a poem that was written by a poet from Spain. He is called Joaquin Sabina, and he writes this poem called Calle Melancolía, which translates to Street of Melancholy. And he talks about how he is always in this street of melancholy, and he always wants to travel to the Barrio de Alegría, the neighborhood of happiness, but every time that he goes to the station to take the train has just left. And so
Mm,
this becomes this like longing for this utopia, right? This utopic space. And so for me, it was about examining what that utopia looks like. So that's why I said, okay, so let's pretend that this is the destination, that this is where that poet is trying to get to. And so we called the organization Barrio Alegría.
And it's pretty interesting. And Nadine and I, we were talking a little bit about, what what is a barrio, and part of it is, a barrio. It might be perceived as as a specific area where there's a lot of Spanish. A lot, or most people are Spanish speaking folks. And something that I mentioned tonight, I'm like, yeah, but Barrio Alegría is not necessarily that. Like, you can be anyone and be part of Barrio. So I remember that I mentioned, I think Barrio is more than just Spanish speaking. It's pretty much, if you are a person, just come and hang out and create art with us, and do your thing.
Well, they
So I
even let
think.
me hang out there. I mean,
Well, yeah, and I think that it's one of the most interesting things is that we often think of ourselves or the ideal person, right? The ideal person doesn't commit any or doesn't do anything wrong, is always on the right, is always the model to aspire to, and that's not necessarily the case. We all have our flaws, we all fail, we all have defects in our body, we are all comparing ourselves to other people, and but that's one of the things that make us human. And so here at Body we understand that you are welcome regardless of, and you can always, no matter who you are, you can always contribute. There's something that you can always contribute to the body.
yeah, that's one of the things that makes Barrio so beautiful, I think, is that I have a real thing about being human. Took me a long time to figure that out, but I have a real thing about being human, and I think it's like one of the most beautiful and wonderful things, with all the flaws and all the mess and all the mix. But there's not too many places in the world that seem like they welcome people being human. I think Barrio is one of those places. But before I get off on some kind of a tangent, or we get off on some other direction, I really do want to get you to talk to us a little bit about community engagement, because I think that that is one of the things that Barrio does incredibly well. I think that you maybe have an understanding of that that's a little certainly deeper than just the surface of the words like community engagement, like we connect with the community. There's a lot more to it than that. And there's a lot of places, even here in this community, where people struggle with that. I struggle with that, engaging people. So, can you just talk a little bit about some of your community, like what's involved? What does it look like? What does it feel like to really do genuine community engagement?
Wow, what a question. What does it involve to do genuine community engagement? I think that it's very important to make the difference between outreach and community engagement. And I think that a lot of times when we are doing the work, we tend to mix both, and we say, oh, translating a flyer and posting it on Facebook, or having somebody uh, who speaks the language is community engagement, and that is part of community engagement, but it's like I would say the bare minimum that you could do is speak the language of the community, or have someone who speaks the language, or have flyers that are translated to the language of the community where you are located. Then I think that the second level of that, what I have witnessed is this idea of saying, okay, this is the program that I am going to create for this community, and then I'm once the program is created, I'm going to ask community members to come and help me out with this program, and they can be helpers into to the program, and that's my community engagement. So that's another level. That's a little bit higher than, of course, just simply translating flyers. What I define, or what we define as community engagement, is redefining what our organizations are or do. So, for example, at Barrio, we say we have the Lego pieces, the Lego brick pieces, and we have the platform. So community members can come to us and then say, "Hey, I see that you have this piece, you have this piece. Can I use these two pieces to create this thing? Or can I use, we ask community members to come in and be the master builder of the programs. And then we help them, yeah, we become the helpers of that program. We empower them to make mistakes. I mean, I think that the basic idea of community engagement for organizations is to think beyond the success of the program. You need to be ready to fail. Failure should be an option. For true community engagement, failure should be an option, because people are going to be late. People are going to have their own, like, internal community politics. People are going to, they know better about their neighborhoods, about the place where they live, than somebody who is just delivering a program. Was that too long? I know that I get lost in the definition.
It was. I think it was really important. I don't think for me it wasn't too long. I think it's really, really important. I like the concept. I was someplace else today where we were kind of talking about that a little bit, but just the concept that, like, it's the community that does the building, and we, like, support that. It shouldn't be us saying, "Oh, like, this is the thing," and then come and we want you to do this thing that we figured out. But it's the community identifying what the need is, or the desire, and then having the support for that.
Yes.
And I like being able to make mistakes, like to fail.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard. It's hard because a lot of times community members don't have the same accessibility of language that we do. We tend to speak the organizational speak, the jargon of organizations, nonprofits, and they don't speak that. They so when you ask them, like, what type of programming would you like to see, a lot of times they don't know. They just say art programs. Okay, but what type of art programs? They're like, children are programs. That's what we want. And we're like, yes, but there are so many, so it takes a lot of time. It's a whole process. So the whole idea of, like, oh yeah, we are going to create a timeline where we're going to develop the program, we're going to buy our materials, and then we're going to deliver the program, that is kind of obsolete.
Hmm.
Can you say that one more time? That is kind of what?
Obsolete. That is obsolete. That's thinking back way when community engagement was not a thing. Now that community engagement is, or at least is being peddled by several people, I think that now all of those, like, rigid timelines and ways of looking at how to build and construct programs has just become obsolete.
Obsolete.
And because some of the programming that Barrio does, it comes from people that may be involved in one way or another with Barrio, but doesn't necessarily are employees or volunteers. So it's just, hey, and I remember because I went to one of the programmings that was a friend, and I know that she is involved, but she is not like a creator, let's say, inside Barrio. It was just like, hey, I have this skill, I want to bring it to more people. But I know that Barrio has that accessibility to those people. And we spent an evening learning how to crochet with our hands, and I made a beautiful scarf that I cannot use because it's too short, but I learned how to do it. uh, so in terms of you know the projects and stuff that Barrio does, um, you know, all of them which involve art in some way or form or another. We can spend hours talking about it. But what what projects are happening right now at Barrio, or different ways that Barrio is engaging the community through their very diverse programming.
Yeah, so I think that the framing that we have around creative placemaking is important. The majority of our programs happen outside because we understand that it is kind of a flip mentality to think that the expectations should be for community members to come to us. For us, it needs to be about going to them, finding out where they are, and then showing up there and doing the program there. Um, so we have being approached because of the programming that we have been doing. We were approached by a national organization working with creative placemaking organizations all over the US so that we could help tell the stories of those organizations and some of those projects that are happening all over the US. So we spent a good, I would say, 3 months researching, conducting interviews, and writing these profiles to create a resource for other organizations, for organizations all over the US to see what small, medium, and large scale initiatives look like. So that I think has been one of the important contributions that we have been doing. Is looking at what other places are doing so that we can either replicate or learn from what they are doing. Obviously, of course, the work that we do has to do with art. So it's like uh, concerts in alleyways, workshops in front of bodegas. We do movie nights, we do cleanups, we do all of those sort of things, which have now become sort of the typical thing that we do. But what has been really exciting has been to interview through this project that we did, interview and talk to people who neighbors who just said, you know what, I really want to have poetry readings in the park, and so they, out of their own money and out of their own desire, they put together these events and at parks, and one of them is called Profit, Poets, and Parks. So it's just this community member that said, "All right, let me put these events. We're gonna be reading poetry," and so she was connected because one of Barrio's board members happened to walk by and saw her putting this event and said, "Hey, you should get connected with this organization, Barrio." And so we got connected, and then we have bought from that. We bought this community. It's a speaker that that community members can come and borrow from us. That is a speaker with a microphone, so they can do either poetry or karaoke or whatever it is that they need to do. So that has been exciting. And the second thing that has been exciting has been a series of cleanups that have been happening in Front and Schiller, which is led by another community member who has been doing this for 2 years now. So this is something that is not going anywhere, right? And we in Reading are so used to things starting up, bubbling up, and then fizzling out that it is so hopeful to see initiatives that start and maintain. And so for us, is when I talk to them, I say to them, it is our responsibility as a community to support the work that you are doing. So those are very exciting things that I think I wanted to share with you today.
That's pretty awesome.
Jonathan tried to keep like a pretty plain face when you said you had a karaoke machine.
Yeah, that you can.
He's gonna be talking to you after the show, I'm sure.
I'll send you a text.
Give you a heads up.
Yeah, as long as you use it for the benefit of the community, it's
Mhm.
out there. I mean, what are things doing collecting dust anyway? We
Yeah.
need to that they need to things need to be used. Things need to be put to work, and things need to break. They are going to inevitably break, and we need to be okay with that. We need to be okay with that.
But I think the key aspect here is as long as you do it for the community. And I think that's a really big part because oh yeah, sure, you can. What good does it do having it broken if it was only one person using it for their own benefit? But if it broke, while we were having a blast, well, oh well, it broke, but we can still party.
Yeah.
But as long as it's for the community and the community is enjoying and taking advantage of it, and not just one person, because yeah, what
Yeah.
what good what good does it do really?
Yeah, absolutely. If it,
But Barrio, at Barrio, you don't have rules like if you want to use something like this, you have to get the permission of this person who has to be there when it's being used, and
Mm,
they have to like safeguard it and all these other kinds. It's not like that, huh?
well, there are, yeah, we have these cameras that we just give to community members. We've been doing this project, the Ojos Photography project, for 4 years, and we've had DSLR cameras that are semi-professional. That like I remember one of them got coffee spilled on, and this person, the person that had taken it, um, came to us crying. This person was like, "Oh my God, you are going to be so mad at me." And I said, "What? What's the problem?" And then they said, "Oh, I spilled coffee on this camera. It doesn't work anymore." And I said, "Well, let's celebrate. It's like the first camera that has broken out of, I think we have 8 cameras." So I said, "What's the big deal? It's one camera. It was supposed to happen at some point. These things are not eternal. Nothing is eternal. So like, let's celebrate." And I thought at some point we can probably tear it apart. Use it for parts or whatever. Um, but out of all of these years that we have been loaning things, nothing has ever gotten lost. Nothing has ever gotten well, with the exception of that camera, or things like because of wear and tear, they you know they break.
We're out.
But it's good because it's being used, and it is being broken because it's being used. You know.
and of course, this is not an invitation for people to start breaking things over there, but it's just I think there's people are so people are expecting something so bad to happen when a mistake is made, um that just that nervousness that oh my god, I won't be able to participate, I won't be able to 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 keep being engaged. It's like just okay, this happened, but how can we support you in this in this moment of your life?
It's not rocket science. I mean,
Yeah,
things are going to break. Things are going to, go on
yeah,
things. Yeah.
like that's awesome. Yeah, I actually participated in one. No, well, it was a workshop, and I got a camera. The person allowed me to use their personal camera. I was like, oh my god. But the fact that this person was like, hey, you can just use my camera, just you know it's there. So I was like, oh, this is strange. Like you don't know me. And
But you're
it
in
was
Latvia, so we believe in the goodness of people.
yeah.
That's refreshing. You
Doesn't
don't
everyone?
hear you don't
I
hear a lot of
You're
that in
making
the
it like I
world.
am some sort of alien. Everyone should believe in the good of each other, in the good
I
of
agree.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with that. I'm trying to find something that I don't agree with you on, but I agree with that. So, um, yeah, but it's just really refreshing to hear somebody say that, and it's also refreshing to hear, how mistakes and breaking, people being human and accidents happen and things like that, and it's not the end of the world, and we can still continue on. And a lot of times we learn things if we allow ourselves to make mistakes. There's a lot to be learned
Yeah,
often from those experiences.
absolutely.
So, Daniel, I have a question. Well, it's like a question that has another question attached. But do people to participate, since we're talking about art, we're talking about creative minds, do people need to be artists to participate in Barrio?
No. So the mission statement for Barrio is that Barrio is a community engagement organization that uses the arts to create transformational moments in people. So it doesn't say that we are an organization for artists. It says that basically it says that we use art as the lure to or the key to open up spaces for people to create spaces where people can come together and build fellowship. You
Yeah.
know, that I think that's the best answer that I can give. So art, no, we in fact the majority of the people that we have in our programs do not self-select as an artist. People who have participated in our theater program, the majority of them have never acted before, have never danced before. In fact, a lot of them say, "Oh, I have two left feet." And then we say, "Oh, great, you're perfect for us." So yeah,
We're
it's
going to match you up with somebody who has two right feet, and then you'll just be,
and then something will happen.
yeah.
So
I don't even dance, and Daniel got me to dance someplace. So I was like, yeah. So,
so in terms of because I and the question was also directed to this notion that artists don't get paid, and
mm,
not not necessarily that all the people that you have in your staff may consider themselves artists, but where do you fall in that statement? Almost like, oh, living from art, but pretty much we know what the stereotype of the artist is, where you
starving
know
artist.
pretty much pretty much
Well, I think that for many years, the perception has been that art is this thing that you do once you have satisfied every other need that you have. So art became this tool for like a luxury thing, right? That
mm,
you that people who had privilege would enjoy. Museums, that's why you have people, from our community that look at museums, libraries, theaters, and say that wasn't built for me.
Mm,
They're not foreign to that fact that the building, the platform, the thing was not built for them. Um, so much like, people had this perception, or some people had this perception that um, folks who were working at McDonald's were only teenagers who were, getting a job after school, and they were just, seasonal workers. Were removed from the reality that there were people who were making a living by working at those spaces and were not getting paid enough. So for us, we make a conscious effort to, that is like, it's becoming almost second nature for us. Um, that every time we say or do something in the community, our ask is, okay, so we need to pay our artists. We pay our artists. So what is the, you know, is there a budget? Basically, is what we always say. um, and the same thing, that happened, is something that has happened for us recently, um, which is the contrast between, art in some circles and in some communities being viewed as this thing that you use for leisure. Here in writing, in our neighborhoods, art is the difference between life and death. um, because through the pandemic, when we were not able to do some programs in our communities, people who people began, or some people began doing illicit activities. So there were, drug dealers that started taking over the streets. They were walking in the streets while we were not allowed to, because we couldn't get a permit to do our programs. So we got a call one day from one of our neighbors right after PA went into green, and this neighbor said, "Oh my gosh, Daniel, I've just been told that I am going to get jumped. Somebody wants to jump me because they think that I am the one that is bringing all of these art activities here. Can you please bring more and make sure that you tell them that it is you, that it is Barrio, the one that is doing, that is not me, that is not the neighbors that are doing this, but it is Barrio." And so we said, "Yeah, absolutely. We'll come in full force. We'll do it. We'll do more activities." And to me, it was very, I can't describe the feeling, because her call was not, this neighbor's call was not to the police. It was not to, the authorities. It was to this community organization. It was to this like little arts organization. And as I looked around the room, to the staff, I realized that she was calling for help from the community. She was looking for help from the community, because we are also the community. Barrio staff live and work in the city. Barrio staff um, represent, our communities. So from that episode, we decided that we were going to be making the announcement that I am going to make tonight, exclusively for Askable adults and the Let's Talk. Starting January 1st, 2022, everybody who works at Barrio, including interns, is going to be making $15 an hour. So
oh,
there's no way that we are doing work out in the community, and then and pretending that we are taking care of our community when we are not taking care of our community inside. We are also part of the community, and so I that was something that we discussed with my board, with staff, and it's a decision that we have all come to agree on. That's something that we're going to do. Oh,
Nice.
look at that! And there,
Wow.
now it is
Yay,
announced.
Barrio.
It is highlighted now. So
That's a very big deal.
yeah, and for us, I think it's important. It's important. It's time. It's time.
And with that, I also want to bring the agents of change to the conversation, because how 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 do we become agents of change? We start changing ourselves to be able to change, our surroundings, and kind of like starting in our own house and barrio, maybe the house of a lot of people. So how do we change our community? We start with our immediate surroundings, and I think this is going to be a really big step for not only barrio but hopefully other organizations in the community that can get inspired and also making changes. This is awesome.
That's pretty amazing.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation, and I am glad that there are spaces like this where we can, you know, talk about these stories and talk about, like how we are pushing the envelope always. That's the one thing that we need to be doing, right? We need to be innovating. We need to step outside a little bit of like trying to do the same thing over and over and over again. No, we need to innovate. Innovation needs to be the name of our game.
Stepping outside and stepping up.
Yeah.
Stepping up our game. Well, Daniel, I don't know if is there anything else that Barrio is doing that you want to highlight? I know that this Friday there's gonna be a workshop, I think. Is there anything else that you would like for people to know, to check out Barrio?
Yeah. So if they want to, if you would like to get involved with Barrio, just check us out on our Facebook and our website. Um, and then yeah, we're more than happy to have you.
And I was going to ask this earlier. For people who maybe have never been to Barrio, they're hearing all these wonderful things about Barrio. How much does it cost to participate in Barrio stuff?
It is completely free.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that got said.
Yeah, everything is free.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Daniel, I don't know, man. You are the man, as I'm seeing um in the comments, but also you are leading by example. So thank you so much, Daniel, and hopefully you will be up for another Askable Adults, or you will be willing to tell other people to participate in this program, because this is not only to highlight members of the community, but also to talk about organizations that people can be part of. Because why not? They're there. Just stop in and participate in one of the alleyway alley concerts, or workshops, or dancing, or storytelling, poetry.
Yeah, everything.
Participate in our
Movies.
there is always something happening at Barrio.
Barrio. That's what I was just going to say. Exact words. There is always something happening at Barrio.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. This it's always a pleasure.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Daniel.
Thank you so much, and see everyone next week at
Next week.
5:30 on
There it is.
Askable Adults.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.